Gina stood alone on the high crystal balcony, watching the 3 moons of Voskar rise above the glowing city. The cold wind made her skin shimmer with light, a trait all Voskari shared. All around her, the beautiful towers of her home planet reached toward the stars. But Gina had never felt more alone. "You're missing the Unity Gathering again," said a voice behind her. Gina turned to see Hannah, her childhood friend. Hannah's skin glowed brighter than Gina's, with perfect patterns that showed her pure Voskari blood. "The matriarch will notice," Hannah warned. Gina sighed. "Let her notice. I don't belong there anyway." Hannah moved closer. "Is it the voices again? The human words in your head?" Gina nodded. Since birth, she had been different. While other Voskari could move things with their minds or grow stronger at will, Gina's mutation gave her something else. The strange ability to understand human languages. It was a gift no one wanted. "The Supreme Matriarch is speaking about the human threat tonight," Hannah said. "You should at least pretend to care." Gina looked up at the stars. "Humans aren't a threat. They're just different." Hannah's glow dimmed with concern. "Be careful who hears you say that. Yunmei has declared humans dangerous to our way of life. Their emotions make them unpredictable. Or interesting," Gina whispered. When Hannah left, Gina returned to her living pod. She waved her hand over the wall, and it became clear, revealing her secret. Hidden behind false panels were books, pictures, and artifacts, all human. For years, she had collected these treasures from the junkyards where Voskari threw away anything touched by humans. Gina picked up a small device. It was a music player from Earth. She pressed it to her ear and heard beautiful sounds that made her feel less alone. The Voskari had perfect telepathic harmony, but nothing like this raw human emotion in song. A sudden alert lit up her room. Something had entered Voskar's atmosphere. Gina quickly checked her hidden scanner. Another device she had fixed from human trash. On the screen, she saw a small object falling toward the outer lands. Without thinking, Gina grabbed her environmental cloak and hurried out. She took her personal flyer to the crash site, arriving before any official Voskari guards. In a smoking crater lay a damaged metal object with strange markings. A human probe. Gina's heart beat faster. This was dangerous. The matriarch had ordered all human technology destroyed on site. But this probe might contain new information, new human words and stories. She heard flyers approaching. The guards were coming. Gina made her decision quickly. She wrapped the probe in her cloak and loaded it onto her flyer. As the official ships appeared on the horizon, she was already speeding away. Back in her living pod, Gina carefully opened the damaged probe. Inside was a simple message repeating in many Earth languages. Gina understood them all instantly. "Greetings from Earth. We come in peace. We seek knowledge and friendship." Gina's skin glowed brighter with excitement. The probe also contained maps, music, and images of Earth. She downloaded everything before hiding the probe beneath her floor. That night, as she studied the human messages, Gina knew she had crossed a line. If the matriarch discovered what she had done, the punishment would be severe. But for the first time in her life, Gina didn't feel like an outsider. Somehow, these human words felt more like home than anything on Voskar ever had. Outside, the crystal city glowed with perfect Voskari harmony. Inside, Gina made her choice. A choice that would soon change everything. 3 days after finding the human probe, Gina could not sleep. She spent every free moment studying the human messages. She learned that a ship from Earth was coming to Voskar's star system. This was why the probe had been sent ahead. The morning sky turned red as all Voskari received the same mental alert. The Supreme Matriarch called an emergency meeting. Gina joined the crowd in the central crystal hall where thousands of Voskari gathered, their skin glowing with worry. Matriarch Yunmei stood on the high platform. Her large eyes swept over the crowd, and her skin flashed with powerful light patterns. She was the strongest of all Voskari, able to control others with special chemicals her body made. A human ship has entered our system, Yunmai announced. Her voice was cold. Our outer sensors detected it crossing the outer ice belt yesterday. Worried whispers filled the hall. Gina stayed quiet, her heart beating fast. The defense systems have been activated, Yunmai continued. When the humans reach the fourth moon, our weapons will destroy them. This is the only safe response to their invasion. Gina could not believe what she was hearing. The human ship wasn't an invasion. The probe had clearly said they came in peace. They were just explorers. Any Voskeri who sees human technology must report it at once, Yunmai said, her eyes moving across the crowd. Failure to do so is treason. Gina felt cold. She had already committed treason by hiding the probe. After the meeting, Gina hurried back to her living pod. She knew she had to do something. The human ship would reach the fourth moon in less than a day, and then the Voskeri weapons would destroy them. Gina pulled out the probe again. She had studied enough of the human technology to understand how it worked. With careful hands, she reconnected wires and fixed the broken parts. If she could send a warning to the human ship, they might stay away from the trap. As night fell, Gina took her flyer to the high mountains where the crystal formations would hide her signal from Voskeri sensors. Cold wind whipped around her as she set up the probe on a flat rock. Her fingers were shaking as she typed a message in the human language called English. Danger. Voskeri weapons will fire at fourth moon. Stay away. Not all Voskeri are enemies. Gina sent the message and waited. The stars above were silent. Had it worked? Would the humans understand? She was about to pack up when the probe beeped. A message appeared. Thank you, unknown friend. Message received. ESV Pathfinder changing course. Gina felt joy spread through her body, making her skin glow brighter than ever before. The humans had heard her. They would be safe. But as she turned to leave, a bright light blinded her. 3 Voskeri security flyers hovered above, their lights pointing down at her. Gina of House Temer, came a familiar voice. You are detected using unauthorized communication technology. Gina's heart sank as Hannah stepped out of the central flyer. Her childhood friend wore the silver uniform of Voskeri security. Hannah's face showed no emotion, but her skin patterns revealed her shock and disappointment. By order of Supreme Matriarch Yunmai, you are arrested for treason against Voskar, Hannah said formally. As the security officers surrounded her, Gina looked up at the stars one last time. The human ship was safe, at least for now. Whatever happened to her, she had done the right thing. The last thing Gina saw before they took her away was Hannah's face, torn between duty and their old friendship. In that moment, Gina knew that more than her own fate hung in the balance. She had started something that could not be stopped. The holding cell was cold. Gina sat on a hard bench, watching her skin's glow fade to a dull blue. She had been here for 2 days. No one had spoken to her except the guards who brought her food. Today was different. The cell door slid open, and Hannah walked in. She wore her full security uniform, but her face looked tired. The High Council will see you now, Hannah said. Her voice was flat, official. Gina stood up. Hannah, please listen. The humans aren't dangerous. They're messages. Stop. Hannah held up her hand. Don't make this worse. Matriarch Yunmai has all the evidence she needs. Guards appeared beside Hannah and placed restraint bands on Gina's wrists. These special bands blocked Voskeri's natural abilities. Not that Gina had any useful powers to block. They led her through long crystal hallways to the High Council chamber. It was a huge room with 7 tall chairs arranged in a half circle. Hundreds of Voskeri sat in the audience seats. All fell silent when Gina entered. In the center chair sat Yunmai, her skin patterns flashing with angry red lights. The other 6 council members looked just as stern. Gina of House Temer, Yunmai's voice echoed through the chamber. You stand accused of treason against Voskar. You hid human technology, and sent messages to warn the human ship about our defenses. Jaina looked up at the council. I did those things. But it wasn't treason. The humans come in peace. They. Silence. Yunmei stood up. We have examined the human probe you hid. It is a spy device, sent to learn our weaknesses. That's not true, Jinna said. I understand their language. They are explorers, not invaders. Whispers filled the room. Everyone knew about Jinna's strange ability to understand human words. Yunmei's skin flashed brighter. Your genetic problem has corrupted your mind. You think you understand humans, but you have become their tool. One of the other council members leaned forward. Let her speak. I want to hear why she betrayed her own people. Jinna took a deep breath. The Voskeri believe we are superior because we evolved beyond emotion. But humans feel deeply, and it gives them strength. Their probe had music, art, stories, things we have lost. They don't want to harm us. They want to learn from us. And we could learn from them too. The audience murmured. Some seemed curious, but others looked angry. Yunmei raised her hand, and the room fell silent. Enough of this poison. Your mind has been twisted by your defective genes. She turned to the rest of the council. I call for the vote. One by one, the council members cast their votes. Jinna already knew what the result would be. Jinna of House Tamer, you are found guilty of treason, Yunmei announced. The sentence is exile to Teros. Gasps filled the room. Teros was a harsh, toxic moon at the edge of their system. No one survived there for long. You will depart tomorrow, Yunmei continued. You may take only what you can carry. As the guards led Jinna away, she saw faces in the crowd. Some looked sad, others satisfied. She caught a glimpse of Hana, whose glow had dimmed to almost nothing. Back in her cell, Jinna sat alone. Exile to Teros meant certain death, but a small part of her wondered if the human ship, the one she had warned, might still be out there somewhere. Later that night, her cell door opened quietly. Hana slipped inside. She looked around nervously, then pressed something into Jinna's hand. A communication device, Hana whispered, small enough to hide. I don't know if you're right about the humans, but, her voice cracked, you deserve a chance. Before Jinna could thank her, Hana was gone. Jinna closed her fingers around the small device. It wasn't much, but in the emptiness of exile, it would be everything. The exile ship dropped Jinna on Teros with nothing but a small survival pack. As the ship disappeared into the purple sky, Jinna stood alone on the rocky ground. The air was thin and smelled like burning metal. She quickly put on her breathing mask from the pack. Teros was a cruel place. Sharp rocks covered most of the land. The three suns made the days burning hot, while the nights froze everything. Nothing grew here except for some strange blue moss in the shadows of rocks. Jinna walked for hours, looking for shelter. Her legs hurt, and her throat was dry. Finally, she found a deep crack in a large cliff. It led to a small cave, just big enough for her to fit inside. Home sweet home, Jinna said to herself, trying to smile. Her voice echoed in the empty cave. For 3 days, Jinna worked to make the cave livable. She used parts from her exile pod to make a water collector. She found more blue moss, which held water she could drink. She built a small fire pit using energy cells from her pack. At night, when the temperature dropped, Jinna huddled in her thermal blanket. She would take out the communication device Hana had given her. It was no bigger than her thumb. So far, it had picked up nothing but static. On the 4th day, Jinna explored farther from her cave. She climbed a tall hill and looked out over the land. Teros was even more empty than she had thought, except for one thing. In the distance, something reflected the sunlight. Curious, Jinna walked toward the shiny object. It took her most of the day to reach it. When she finally got there, she gasped. Half buried in the rocky ground was a metal structure. It was old and covered with dust, but Jinna could tell it wasn't Voskeri. What are you? she whispered, touching the smooth metal. Gina dug around the structure with her hands until she uncovered a small door. It took all her strength to pull it open. Inside was a dark room filled with strange devices. Dust covered everything. As Gina stepped inside, lights suddenly came on. She jumped back in surprise. A soft humming filled the room as machines woke up from a long sleep. A screen on the wall lit up. Symbols appeared that Gina had never seen before, yet somehow she could understand them. They weren't human or Voskari, but something much older. "Welcome, traveler," the screen read. Gina's skin tingled with excitement. "What is this place?" she asked out loud, not expecting an answer. But an answer came. The screen changed to show new words. "This is Listening Post Alpha. It has waited 5,000 cycles for one who can hear." Gina touched the screen. "Who built you?" "The ancestors of many worlds," came the reply. "Those who came before both human and Voskari." Gina could hardly believe what she was reading. The Voskari had always taught that they evolved separately from humans, that they were better, more advanced. Over the next few days, Gina spent every waking hour at the listening post. She learned that it was built to collect and store signals from space. The machines had been gathering sounds, messages, and data for thousands of years. And most amazing of all, the post strengthened Gina's ability to hear human languages. When she held the small communication device from Hannah near the main console, it suddenly came to life. Voices and messages from distant ships filled the room. One night, as Gina sat listening to the sounds of faraway humans, she heard something new. A clear voice cut through the static. "This is Captain Du Yun of the Earth ship Pathfinder. We are on a mission of peace. Is anyone out there?" Gina's hand shook as she pressed the button to respond. After all this time alone, after being thrown away by her own people, someone was reaching out. And not just anyone. A human. "This is Gina," she said. "I hear you, Captain Du Yun." Captain Du Yun stood on the bridge of the ESV Pathfinder, looking at the strange moon on the main screen. Taros was a small, rocky place with purple skies. Not the kind of world humans would normally care about. But the signal they had received was clear. Someone was down there. "Captain, we should be careful," said my son, the ship's science officer. "This could be a trap. The Voskari already tried to attack us once." Du Yun nodded but kept his eyes on the screen. "But this voice doesn't sound Voskari, and she saved us from their weapons." He touched the screen, making the image of Taros larger. "There's something about her voice." The Pathfinder had been traveling for 2 years. It was Earth's first real deep space mission. After the Great Collapse, when rising waters and storms had destroyed many cities, humans needed new homes. Du Yun had lost his family in the floods. This mission was his second chance. "I'm going down there," Du Yun decided. My son looked worried. "Sir, the atmosphere is toxic, and our scans show strange energy readings. That's why I need to see it for myself." Du Yun turned to the crew. "Prepare a landing pod. Small team only." An hour later, Du Yun and 3 crew members were flying toward Taros. Their small pod shook as it entered the moon's atmosphere. "Landing in 2 minutes," said Taeho, the pilot. Suddenly, warning lights flashed red. The pod rocked violently. "What's happening?" Du Yun asked, holding onto his seat. "Something hit us," Taeho shouted. "We're losing control." Through the window, Du Yun saw a larger ship appear from behind a cloud. It had the crystal shine of Voskari design. "They followed us," Du Yun realized. "Get us down now." The pod dropped fast, spinning toward the surface. With a hard crash, they hit the ground. Du Yun's head slammed against the wall, and everything went dark. When he opened his eyes, Du Yun was alone in the pod. Warning lights still flashed, but the power was dying. His head hurt, and blood ran down his face. Outside, a dust storm was raging, making it impossible to see. Du Yun put on his environmental suit and breathing mask. The airlock hissed as he stepped outside into the storm. Wind and dust hit him like a wall. Taiho, Jihai, Minshu, he called into his radio. There was no answer. His team must have been thrown from the pod during the crash, or maybe they had gone looking for help. The dust was so thick Du Yun could barely see his own hand. He stumbled forward, hoping to find shelter. His suit's oxygen level was already dropping. After walking for what felt like hours, Du Yun fell to his knees. The storm was getting worse. His suit reported oxygen at critical levels. This wasn't how he had imagined his mission ending, alone on a dead moon, far from Earth. As his vision began to blur, Du Yun saw a shape moving through the dust. A figure in a strange suit was coming toward him. Not human, not quite Voskeri either. The figure knelt beside him and checked his oxygen tank. With quick hands, they connected a tube from their own tank to his. Fresh air flowed into Du Yun's mask, and his mind cleared. "Who are you?" he asked. The figure's face was hidden behind a mask, but Du Yun heard a familiar voice through his radio. "I am Gina. I've been waiting for you, Captain Du Yun." She helped him stand. "Your ship crashed because of the Voskeri patrol. They're hunting you. We need to go before they find us." "My crew," Du Yun said weakly. "I need to find them." "First, I must get you to safety," Gina said. "Then we will find your friends. I know this land better than anyone." As they walked through the storm, Du Yun looked at his strange rescuer. He had traveled across the stars to find new worlds, but instead he had found something unexpected. An ally where he least expected one. "Thank you for saving me," he said. Gina's voice was soft through the radio. "Once you saved me too. Your warning message gave me hope when I had none. Now we are even. Human." Gina led Du Yun through the storm to her cave. Inside, it was warm and surprisingly comfortable. She had made furniture from parts of her exile pod and the ancient listening post. Strange lights glowed on the walls, casting soft blue shadows. "Rest here," Gina said, helping Du Yun sit on a makeshift bed. She removed her mask, showing her face to the human for the first time. Du Yun stared at her. Gina's skin had a soft blue glow, and her eyes were large and silver. She looked like other Voskari, but her skin patterns were different. Simpler, less bright. "You're Voskari," Du Yun said, "but you helped me. Why?" Gina handed him a cup of water. "Because not all Voskari believe humans are enemies. Some of us," she paused, "some of us are different." Du Yun drank the water gratefully. "My crew. We need to find them." "The storm will end soon," Gina promised. "Then we can search. Your friend's suits have tracking signals, yes?" Du Yun nodded and pulled out a small device from his pocket. "This can find them, but its range is short." Gina smiled. "I can help with that." She went to a corner of the cave and returned with a strange metal object. "This is from the listening post. It can make your device stronger." She connected Du Yun's tracker to the alien device. The screen immediately lit up with 3 blinking dots. "It works," Du Yun said with excitement. "They're alive, all 3 of them." Gina studied the screen. "They are in different places. The crash must have separated them." She pointed to one dot. "This one is closest. We will find this person first." When the storm cleared, they set out across the rocky landscape. Du Yun was surprised at how easily Gina moved over the difficult terrain. She knew every rock and crack in the ground. "How long have you been here?" Du Yun asked as they climbed a steep hill. 122 days, Gina answered. "I counted each one." "And you were sent here as punishment. For what crime?" Gina stopped walking and turned to face him. "For warning your ship about the Voskeri weapons. For believing humans deserve a chance." Du Yun was silent for a moment. "Then I owe you my life twice over." They continued walking until they reached a small valley. The tracker beeped faster. "Close now," Gina whispered. "But we must be careful. Voskeri patrols sometimes fly over this area." They found Tahoe, the pilot, sheltering under a rock overhang. His leg was injured, but he was alive. He looked at Gina with fear at first, but Du-Yun quickly explained that she was a friend. As they helped Tahoe back toward the cave, Gina suddenly stopped. "Listen," she said. A low humming sound filled the air. Gina pulled Du-Yun and Tahoe behind a large rock, just as a Voskeri patrol ship flew overhead. The ship circled the area twice before moving on. "They're still looking for you," Gina said. "We need to be more careful." Back at the cave, Gina treated Tahoe's leg with a strange blue paste. "This will help the pain," she explained. "It's from the moss that grows here." While Tahoe rested, Du-Yun and Gina sat near the fire. Du-Yun had many questions. "How do you understand our language so perfectly?" he asked. Gina's skin glowed a bit brighter. "I was born different from other Voskeri. Where they have strength or mind powers, I have this strange gift for languages. I can understand any human language after hearing just a few words." To prove it, she said hello in 12 Earth languages, one after another. Du-Yun was amazed. "That's incredible." Gina looked down. "The Voskeri call it a defect. A mutation. That's why I was never fully accepted, even before my exile." Du-Yun reached out and touched her hand. Gina's skin glowed brighter at his touch. "Sometimes," he said softly, "what others call a defect is really a gift they don't understand." Outside, one of Teros's moons rose in the purple sky, and somewhere, 2 more humans waited to be found. Over the next 2 days, Gina and Du-Yun found the other 2 human crew members. Ji-Hai was hiding in a small canyon, while Min-Su was trapped in a cave after a rock slide. Both were tired and scared, but alive. Now all 4 humans sat in Gina's cave as she explained about the ancient listening post. "The machines there show that humans and Voskeri are connected," Gina said. "We come from the same ancestors, a people who traveled the stars long ago." Du-Yun looked surprised. "Our scientists have wondered if other intelligent life might be related to us, but the Voskeri look so different. We evolved on different worlds," Gina explained. "But deep in ourselves, we share the same pattern." Suddenly, Gina's communication device beeped loudly. She grabbed it and listened. Her face turned worried. "What is it?" Du-Yun asked. "A message from Vosker," Gina said. "Someone is talking about us." She adjusted the device so everyone could hear. A cold female voice filled the cave. "This is Supreme Matriarch Yunme. We have detected the human ship and the traitor Gina. They hide on Teros. This proves the human threat is real. I am sending our best warriors to destroy them all. Commander Hannah will lead the attack." The message ended. The humans looked at each other with fear. "We need to leave now," Tahoe said. "Get back to our ship." "The Pathfinder is too far," Du-Yun said. "And Voskeri ships would catch us before we reached it." He turned to Gina. "Is there anywhere else we can hide?" Gina thought for a moment. "The listening post. It has old defenses that might still work. And there's something else there I need to show you. Proof that we share ancestors." They quickly packed food and water. As they left the cave, Gina looked up at the sky. "We have to hurry. Voskeri ships are fast." The group moved across the rocky terrain as quickly as they could. Ji-Hai was limping from her injuries, and Min-Su helped her walk. "How many warriors will Yunmai send?" Du-Yun asked as they walked. "Many," Gina replied. "And Hannah is very smart. She knows this moon well." Du-Yun looked at her. "You know this Hannah?" Gina's skin dimmed a little. "We were friends once, before I chose to help humans." They reached the listening post just as the first Voskeri ship appeared in the sky. Du-Yun helped everyone inside the ancient structure, while Gina worked on the door controls. "Hurry," Tahoe shouted as more ships appeared. Gina pressed her hand against a panel, and the heavy door slid shut just as the Voskeri ships landed outside. Inside, the humans stared in wonder at the ancient technology all around them. Gina led them to the main room with the big screen. She placed her hand on a crystal panel, and the whole room lit up with new light. "This is what I wanted to show you," she said. The screen showed a map of many star systems. Then it changed to show two DNA patterns side by side. One was labeled human and one Voskeri. "Look how similar they are," Gina said. Du Yun stepped closer to the screen. "This is amazing. This could change everything between our peoples." A loud bang shook the walls. The Voskeri were trying to break in. "Can you send this information to your ship?" Gina asked. Du Yun nodded and connected his communication device to the ancient computer. Another bang, louder this time. The door was beginning to crack. "The defenses," Gina said, rushing to another panel. "I need to activate them." Just as she reached for the controls, the door burst open. 5 Voskeri warriors rushed in, weapons ready. Behind them stood a female Voskeri with commander markings on her uniform. "Hannah," Gina whispered. Hannah looked at Gina, then at the humans. Her face showed no emotion, but her skin patterns revealed her conflict. "By order of Supreme Matriarch Yunme," Hannah said formally, "you are all to be executed for crimes against Voskar." Du Yun stepped forward, placing himself between the Voskeri weapons and Gina. "Wait," he said. "Before you kill us, there's something you need to see." Hannah kept her weapon pointed at Du Yun. "What could a human possibly show me that matters?" she asked. "The truth," Du Yun said. He stepped aside so Hannah could see the screen behind him. "Look at this." Hannah's eyes moved to the display showing the DNA patterns. Her skin flickered with surprise. "This is fake," she said, but her voice didn't sound certain. Gina stepped forward. "It's real, Hannah. This ancient place has no reason to lie. Humans and Voskeri share ancestors. We are related species." The other Voskeri warriors looked uncomfortable. One lowered his weapon slightly. Hannah's skin patterns showed her inner conflict. "Even if this is true, my orders are clear. The matriarch has decided." "The matriarch is wrong," Gina said, and deep down, you know it. A beeping sound came from Du Yun's device. "The Pathfinder has received our transmission," he said. "They have the DNA evidence now." Hannah looked at her warriors, then back at Gina. "This changes nothing. The matriarch will never accept this." "Maybe not," Du Yun said. "But what about the rest of your people? Don't they deserve to know?" Before Hannah could answer, the ancient computer screen changed. A message appeared. "Signal amplifier active. Broadcast range. All Voskeri colonies." Gina rushed to the control panel. "The listening post is offering to send this truth to every Voskeri in the system," she said with excitement. "No." Hannah moved to stop her, but Du Yun blocked her path. "Hannah," Gina pleaded, "remember when we were young? You always said you wanted to know the real truth about everything. This is your chance." Hannah stood frozen, her weapon still raised. The other warriors looked to her for orders. Finally, Hannah lowered her weapon. "Show me how to help," she said quietly. Together, Gina and Hannah worked at the ancient controls. The humans watched in amazement as the listening post came fully alive. Lights that had been dark for thousands of years began to glow throughout the structure. "It's working," Gina said. "The signal is going out to all Voskeri everywhere." Suddenly, Hannah's official communicator beeped. The angry voice of Yunmei filled the room. "Commander Hannah, what is happening? Strange signals are reaching all our colonies. Stop this immediately." Hannah picked up the communicator. "Supreme Matriarch, I found something you need to see." "I don't need to see anything," Yunmei shouted. "Kill the traitor and the humans now." Hannah looked at Gina, then at the DNA evidence on the screen. She made her decision. No, matriarch, the people deserve the truth. Ian's voice became cold. Then you are a traitor too. The communication cut off. One of the warriors stepped forward. Commander, more ships are coming. The matriarch is sending her personal guard. Hannah turned to the others. We don't have much time. Some will believe the truth, but Yunmei's loyal followers will try to stop us. What about the Pathfinder? Min Su asked. Can we reach it? Du Yun checked his device. It's moving closer, but Voskeri ships are blocking the way. Then we must clear the way, Hannah said. She turned to her warriors. Who stands with the truth? All 5 warriors stepped forward. One said, the ancient evidence cannot be ignored. We stand with you, Commander. Gina's eyes filled with tears as she looked at her old friend. Thank you, Hannah. Hannah's skin glowed with new patterns. Don't thank me yet. We still have to survive Yunmi's wrath. The ground shook as more Voskeri ships landed outside. Hannah handed weapons to the humans. Can the listening post defend itself? She asked Gina. Gina touched the main control panel. Let's find out. The ancient structure hummed with power as outside. The revolution among the stars began. Across all Voskeri colonies, people were seeing the truth for the first time. And on Teros, 2 former friends stood side by side, ready to face whatever came next. The ancient listening post shook as Yunmi's ships fired at it from above. Inside, Gina worked quickly at the control panel, while Hannah and her warriors prepared to defend the entrance. The shields are holding, Gina said, but I don't know for how long. Du Yun stood beside her, watching the screens. The Pathfinder is trying to reach us. They've broken through the first line of Voskeri ships. A loud explosion rocked the building. The door began to glow red from heat as Yunmi's forces tried to burn through. They're coming, Hannah warned. Gina touched a crystal on the control panel. There's one more thing this place can do. The ancestors left a message for when Voskeri and humans found each other again. The screen changed to show a recording of beings that looked like a mix between humans and Voskeri. They spoke in an ancient language that Gina somehow understood. What are they saying? Du Yun asked. They say we were one people once, Gina translated. They split into 2 groups to survive a great disaster. One group went to Earth, the other to Voskar. They hoped we would find each other again someday and become one family again. The door burst open in a shower of sparks. Supreme Matriarch Yunmei walked in, surrounded by her personal guards. Her skin glowed with angry red patterns. Traitors, she hissed. Her eyes locked on Gina. You have poisoned our people with lies. Hannah stepped forward. Not lies, Matriarch. Truth. Look at the evidence. I need no evidence, Yunmei said. I am the supreme leader. My word is the only truth. She raised her hand, and a strange mist came from her fingers. This was her special power, chemical control. The mist floated toward Hannah and her warriors. When they breathed it, they would be forced to obey Yunmei. Watch out, Gina shouted. Hannah and her warriors jumped back, covering their mouths. Du Yun ran forward with a breathing mask from his suit, throwing it to Hannah. The other humans gave their masks to the Voskeri warriors. His eyes narrowed with hate. Then you will all die. She turned to her guards. Kill them. No, said a voice from behind Yunmei. A new group of Voskeri had entered. Leaders from other colonies who had seen the truth about humans. There will be no more killing. Yunmei spun around. How dare you? I am the supreme matriarch. Not anymore, said the new leader. Too many have seen the truth now. Your power is gone. Yunmei screamed with rage. She turned back and lunged at Gina, grabbing her by the throat. This is all your fault. Du Yun jumped forward to help, but Yunmei threw him aside with her strength. You want to be with humans so much. Yunmei hissed at Gina. Then die with them. Hana moved faster than anyone could see. She grabbed Unmi's arms and pulled her away from Gina. "Enough," she shouted. Unmi struggled but couldn't break free. Hana's touch seemed to weaken her somehow. "What's happening?" Unmi gasped as her skin began to dim. Gina looked at Hana in surprise. "You have a gift too. You can block other Voskari's powers." The guards threw down their weapons. Without Unmi's chemical control, they were free to choose. They chose peace. Later, on the bridge of the Pathfinder, Gina stood with Du Yun, watching as Voskari and human ships flew together in a show of unity. The new Voskari leaders had agreed to peace with Earth. "What will you do now?" Du Yun asked Gina. She looked at the stars through the big window. "I want to see Earth. To learn more about humans. Maybe I can help both our peoples understand each other." "We need someone like you," Du Yun said. He touched her hand, and her skin glowed brightly in response. "Someone who can bridge the gap between us." Hana approached them. "The first joint Voskari Human Council is ready to meet. They're waiting for you both." Gina smiled at her old friend. "Thank you for believing in the truth." "Thank you for never giving up," Hana replied. As they walked to the meeting room, Gina thought about her journey. She had been exiled for being different, for caring about humans. Now that difference was bringing two worlds together. Outside the ship, the stars seemed brighter somehow. Not an ending, but a new beginning.